Welcome back in. Fitz the Bill on the road, rolling right along. Fitz the Bill on the road is presented by Schilling and Esposito Law Firm, Schilling and Esposito Personal Injury Attorneys. Check them out, Schilling and Esposito, all one word, .com, or give them a call, 804-320-0950. Fitz the Bill on the road. In studio, we were on the road yesterday. We talked with head coach Bob Chesney, offensive coordinator Dean Kennedy, special teams coordinator Drew Kanan, new defensive coordinator Colin Hitchler, and a ton of other players as well. You can find all of the player interviews over on the Fitz the Bill YouTube. Just type in Fitz the Bill ESPN RVA, and we'll pop right on up, and you can find all of the interviews over there. And for right now, we're calling a little bit of an audible at the line of scrimmage. So we're checking from one interview. They'll be running just a tad late. So we're going to have Bob Chesney drop in here. Talked with Bob Chesney yesterday. It's kind of a Talkin' Dukes Fitz the Bill crossover. So this is our interview with Bob Chesney from yesterday, looking at the upcoming season and how everything is playing out for the Dukes. Welcome back in. Talking Dukes, rolling right along right here on 106.1 ESPN. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick alongside Matt Josephs, and we are joined now by JMU football head coach Bob Chesney. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time.
Yeah, thanks for being here, actually, and thanks for attending. It's a very important day, obviously, for our program to get our word out a little bit, and you guys get a chance to highlight some of our players. It's an awesome day.
Yeah, we're excited to talk with, got 6. I think Matt's got 8 he's going to be talking to today, from Alonza, Barnett, Sluka, Coleman. You got that quarterback room we're doing, and then the defensive side. We're super pumped for that. This is year 2 of JMU Football Media Day, something that I think was new last year. Was that something you wanted to institute to bring the media all into one spot to kind of get the messaging out?
Yeah, I think it makes it a little bit easier. It was not my doing necessarily, but obviously you have to give your blessing to it. And I was certainly excited to have an opportunity to do that, especially in year 1. There's so much change that went on with that team and so many new faces that were going to show up and new coaches, and I think it was important to get out in front of it and let everybody connect sort of a face and a story to a jersey number. I think that's an important part of what we do and what you all do, so appreciative of it.
So I meant to ask Coach Hitchler this because it's a name that has been floating around, and it is a name I am very interested in. Aiden Gobaira.
Gobaira.
Thank you. See, it's a name that it's so interesting. He's a very toolsy guy from Notre Dame, medically forced to retire, transfers to James Madison. I just want to know, what was the process in getting him over, and how has he been so far in camp?
Yeah, so the process in getting him over here was that obviously that we lost 2 pretty good defensive ends last year, one to Rutgers and one to graduation. So we knew, that we needed to be able to find some guys that have ability and have production or have had production. And Aiden, you go back and watch his high school film, it's unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. He goes to Notre Dame, gets banged up, hurt, and eventually they just sort of replace him, and he ends up in a spot where, he is medically DQ'd. Still physically able to play football, but just medically DQ'd from their roster, which is great. He finishes the degree, and then he's looking to get closer to home and play football again. So he has been phenomenal. He is a very long, athletic kid. He loves to compete. And, you watch a walkthrough, and he'll be taking steps in the walkthrough in the back and, saying out loud the call and what he's doing next and talking to other people. He's just all ball, and he is fun to be around. I think he's going to have a really, really productive year. He is, wants to please you so much, and he wants to be so good at this game, and he'll take whatever advice you have for him all the time. And he used to sit in some of our early camp defensive meetings, staff meetings, when we were reviewing the film, because he wanted to hear it firsthand before he went to his positional meeting. The kid is, he's a fun kid to be around. And I think you'll be saying that name, Gobaira, a lot as this year goes on.
Yeah, I got to learn that name. That is my Achilles heel. Last names, for some reason, always trip me up. But going out and having to not fully rebuild, because you've got, Mandy Bush is back. Michael McMullen was a name that we heard a lot last season. Cole Webster is a name that seems to be getting some love. Sahir West is another name out there. So not necessarily a full rebuild along the defensive line, but there were some pieces when O'Neal leaves, when Kyrie Manns leaves. What was the process like going into the transfer portal the first time it opened, and heck, the second time it opened, to kind of re-bolster it?
Yeah, well, we knew, obviously, O'Neal and Darrell. Darrell was the other defensive tackle that left before the bowl game, that had the deal with Rutgers and got out of here before that. So we knew those 2, but then we knew we were going to lose Kai, and then we knew that we were going to lose Fitz inside as far as graduation.
Great last name.
Yeah, great one, right? That's easy for you to pronounce, right. But so we knew that we needed to get back in there, and we needed to hold on to Manny at all costs, which we were able to do. Amar, I think, is playing some really good football. Sayer, you haven't seen him yet, but you will. He's really a talented, tough, physical football player. So we knew we had some pieces, but we knew we had to. That's a tough position to play, and it's a tough position to make it the entire year as well. It doesn't always work out, in your favor when you're playing that position. Shoulders and backs and knees and ankles and all the things that could happen in there. So we knew we had to have some depth. So that was a really important part of what we had to be able to do. So getting Aiden was really, really just a huge plus. And then there's a couple other guys in there too that we're really excited to have on our team.
I'm stealing a question here from Matt because he asked this question, I forget to who, but about how important a bowl game is to almost use as a launching pad going into next season. And you mentioned Darryl wasn't here last year, so it got some other guys some run. Gannon Weathersby had a fantastic bowl game. I think Tyler Brown at safety had a really good bowl game. How important was it for them to get those Boca Raton Bowl reps before this season?
Hugely important. I mean, just so they didn't have a ton of in-game reps, and then you go down there and play on a different stage where the week is new to everybody on how you're going to accomplish it. And it's one of those things that you really got to be locked in and really be staying the course at those moments. And when your opportunity presents itself, I always like to say to them, at some point your opportunity is going to show up. You never know when it's going to be, and at some point that light shines on you, and one of two things happen. One is you're either exposed, right, all the work you didn't do, the abilities that you don't have because you didn't prepare properly, or that light's going to shine on you and you're going to be revealed, right? And I think that light shined on those guys and they were revealed in a different light. But to end the season on a win is also something that's really important, right? To get into that bowl game and win it, not only get to it, win it, I think was a crucially important part, especially the way the last two games ended. The season ended was very disappointing. So obviously to end it with a win was really exciting for them, gave them a little bit of confidence, but then also gives us momentum going into the offseason of what this next year's team could be like.
Normally we ask coaches their first couple of years at a program, is the roster where you'd like it to be? How much does the NIL and the transfer portal and the other stuff kind of complicate it that you have an idea where you want to be in year two, but you can't necessarily get there because of outside factors?
Well, there are a lot of factors, and I think that, I was just thinking about the other day, whatever it was at the Division II world, I think we put 7 or 8 guys into the league, right, where they didn't have a single star next to their name. They didn't have a single Division I offer, and they came with us and had, really nice careers. And then we go, to Holy Cross, and again, they don't have any Power 4 offers, no stars next to their name, and a bunch of them go into the league. So to me, I know that we could do it and we could develop it. The issue now is you develop it, somebody else sees that you developed it, and then the poaching happens and they come in and steal what you got, and it's hard to compete with a budget of 20-some million, but a year ago, some of them $40 and $50 million budgets. So, now hopefully that kind of tampers that a little bit, but it all is very different. Your development is maybe for someone else, right, which is a shame. So I think there'll be ways to hopefully clean that up and recoup some of the, the money and the things that come with it, but it is complicated. It's not what I signed up to do. It's not the way, that I want to do it, but you're either competing or complaining, so you got to make a decision, and we're not going to complain. We're going to find a way to compete.
How much of, I guess, recruiting, the transfer portal process is now kind of like, hey, you can come here, ball out, and we'll make sure you're taken care of, but also a Power 5 might come in and give you a pretty hefty bag. Is that right? Part of the recruiting process?
It is. I mean, it definitely comes up. I think when you say to a kid, I want you to be loyal for all 4 years, and regardless of the hundreds of thousands of dollars you can make, you should never do that to your family or to us for your family. It's an impossible conversation to have if you take that stance. But I think it is the idea of the issue you run into, though, is if you acquire them with money, then you got to motivate them with more money, and then you got to retain them with even more money, right? So you're really looking for guys that just want to come to a place that gets football, cares about football, a community that supports football, a team that historically wins, with, phenomenal support every which way, and a group of guys that are playing for and with each other. That's what you want it to be. The cherry on top, you hope, could be that money part of it, but you don't want it to just be solely based on money, because if it is, very quickly that guy will be out the door for more money, and you can always find more money. They will always be able, if they're any good, they will always be able to find more money. Even if they're not good, they'll be able to find more money somewhere else. And I think that that's the stuff that complicates it. But you do have to have those conversations. But again, to me, if Notre Dame calls Coach Kennedy next year and offers him, $1 million, he's probably going to go, right? He's probably not going to stick around here. If Notre Dame calls one of our players and offers $400,000 or $500,000, he's probably going to go, and we're not going to stop him. So I think that those are the things that it's just part of the conversation of, come here, do everything you can, give us a shot to see if we can compete with any of it before you just go shop it around with some agent behind the scenes. And I like where the conversations we've had up to this point and the way our guys believe in it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and very interesting look into it, because it's always kind of shrouded in mystery of how is everything going on behind the scenes. But that's really insightful and really interesting. I'd like to focus a little attention on the quarterback room itself, because as you probably know, I don't know if Matt probably talked about it last week as well.
There's question number 2 for me, because I waited long enough. I waited long enough.
He said 3 or 4.
He said, "How was your day?" And then he said, "Quarterback."
No.
I mean, it was going to be number 1, but I was like, that's probably going to be a question asked 15 times throughout today.
It is, yeah.
But I'm going to start with the fact that you went out and got Sluka and Camden Coleman at ESPN Richmond. A little plug here. We're the home of the Richmond Spiders.
No doubt.
We got a lot of time watching Camden last season. Very excited when he decided to come to JMU. But what was the process like deciding to go out and recruit 2 quarterbacks in this transfer portal process?
Yeah, so for us, as Alonza suffered the injury that he did, and the timeline on it is not 100% understood at that moment. So you can't, go into, Billy's going to leave because he knows he probably is not going to be the starter next year. JC's in a great spot, but his first year of, playing college football. So you needed some experience. When you look back last year, Ryan, at the quarterback room that we had, if you added up all the yards that Alonza threw for, all the yards that Billy threw for, there wouldn't be a lot, right? And then you go into, where did your production come from in that room? It came from Dylan Morris, who came from Washington and was playing for us in the year 2020 is where this production came from. Right now in the quarterback room, we have over 17,000 yards, in production between Cam and Alonza and JC and Sluka and obviously Zoe. And then you have something like 170 touchdowns or something that they accounted for in that room. So you just feel a whole lot better about where you're at, but you knew you needed at least one, right? And you felt like, an older guy and a younger guy is ultimately, the way to go. So if you don't know where the starting quarterback at that moment is going to be, you can't just say, hey, we're good to go here. Let's just, call it a day and not bring anybody in and find out something happens or there's a step back that's taken in the road to recovery, which happens at times. You'd be in a really tough spot sitting here today. So we have very capable, talented, really good quarterbacks in that room, and I love watching them compete every day. They're all just a little bit different, which is exciting to see the offense that gets built around them as we go through this camp, which is just what we have done.
So with that all playing out, and I know Alonza going through everything, is there kind of a timeline set where you think he'll be ready for contact or anything like that, or is it still just
close.
drills?
I just think he's really close. He's not in drills. He's in teamwork. He's in a lot of stuff right now. Like, he's doing everything. If you ask him, he'll tell you he's ready to go. I think that the nature of that injury is when you're at 8 months, 9 months, you're probably cleared. You get to 10 or over 10, that thing is stronger than before it happened. So anything, statistically speaking, anything before that is just a little bit weaker, but with a brace and everything else, you're going to be just fine. He will tell you today there's nothing wrong with him and he's ready to go. And I believe him. I believe him, but that ain't my call, right? I'm a lot of things, but I'm definitely not a doctor. So we'll wait for the doctor to decide exactly how that plays out. But I know that he is ready to take off that red jersey. He is mad about wearing that red jersey every single day, and he wants to compete.
What are preparations like going into that Weber State game with a quarterback competition, like a full-fledged, full-on quarterback competition between 2 guys who are very capable and a third guy who, the second he tears off that red jersey, I imagine is poised and ready to go? What's that like?
It's what you want. It's what you want. A year ago, as we sat here, right, when Alonza got, his ankle and was nicked up a little bit and, just wasn't able to do everything he wanted to do in game, we looked to next, and there's, Dylan Morris, who had an elbow nerve issue and couldn't throw the football, and we're in that position of, hey, Zone needs some plays off, but we don't have the next guy just yet. That's a helpless feeling. And right now, to know that there's depth in that room, their job is just keep competing every single day. Our job is to build game plans around each of them that make sense, and then eventually we make that decision somewhere down the line. But we're at practice 12 right now, so we're only halfway through. We got a lot more work to do, and we need Zoe to get that red jersey off.
My last question is about the guy that we kind of don't talk about, JC. How much did last year's bowl game help him, and how much confidence have you seen from him so far coming off of that?
Unbelievable amounts. I mean, that kid is electric on the field. He is so much better than he was even at the bowl game a year ago. He understands this offense. He's probably one of the smarter guys in that room. He can, give back anything, any questions or any situations asked. He handles those in such a positive way and an intelligent way. He can run with the football. He's an imposing size-wise. He is imposing, when you watch him out there, and he does not, if you came to practice and watched him, I don't know that he shuts his mouth the entire practice. He is constantly building up his teammates and talking to the other side of the ball. It is a fun kid to be around, man, and you should be talking about him as well.
So now as we look, Weber State, August 30th, I know we're halfway through camp, but at this point in camp, with that game about 2 or so weeks away, where are you guys at this point this year compared to this point last year?
Significantly further ahead. I think that by the time we get to Saturday scrimmage, everything will be in at that point in time. And I think we were, just getting to some of the third down stuff by that time a year ago. So right now we are a lot further ahead. And again, the production in those rooms now, they didn't all play here. Like, as you know, Nick and Landon and Cam played somewhere different. Jordan Fuller and Sluka and some of the other guys played somewhere different. Isaiah Austin played somewhere different. Aiden Gobira played somewhere different. So all these guys still, though, had really good experiences that you're able to look at. That's very different than where we were a year ago. Just think about where we were a year ago for a minute. When you look back on it, we get to the bowl game, we go through the things that we're going through, preparing for the bowl game. Then all of a sudden, everybody leaves, right? And we're in a situation of, okay, let's pull up the film of all the guys we have left. So we pull up Cole Potts, Tanner Morris, and the punter, Ryan Hansen. And we go, okay, where's the rest? And there's not a lot of film on the rest because they were not the main starter at that time. Now, JT certainly had a bunch of reps, and other guys had reps, but they were not a lot of game reps. So now you're guessing on this other 50% of the guys that are on your team as you're bringing in all these transfers that you're also still somewhat guessing on to some level. So now we know every single player on our team, right? Because we've gone through that last season, we've gone through the winter, we've gone through the spring, we've gone through this preseason. We feel a whole lot better about that half, and then all the transfers that came in, we feel really good about understanding who they are. So it's not only schematically what we could do, right? How far ahead we are. It's also us truly knowing who's on this roster. Because before we were sort of guessing at this point, we hadn't played a game yet. Who's going to produce in a game? Who's going to break in a game? Who can we trust in a game? Who's going to, all the things that come with it, you don't actually know at that moment in time. We know now, right, with what a lot of these guys could do. So, not only schematically are further ahead, but I think as far as us coaches knowing how to put our guys in the best situation possible on game day, we're significantly further ahead.
Awesome. Love it. Coach, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of JMU Football Media Day out here.
Yeah, man, I certainly will. Thank you guys for making the trip over. Appreciate it. Appreciate having you.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more Talking Dukes right here, 106.1 ESPN.
Little Fitz the Bill Talking Dukes crossover there. JMU Football Media Day yesterday as we have Fitz the Bill on the road, presented by Schilling and Esposito Law Firm, rolling right along. Maybe the most interesting thing was probably around the middle of that interview, talking about their approach to recruiting transfers and, heck, recruiting kids. It's something I've kind of hypothesized for a while, where the teams that are going to find the most success, and you see FCS schools doing it too, the teams with the most success are going to be teams that really lean into the fact that, hey, we're going to take care of you when you're here, but also you're going to have the opportunity to maybe get a big payday when you go and get recruited by a Power 4. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure you're taken care of and you're prepared for the NFL, but also at the same time, you can get potentially taken away to a Power 4 and get a major payday.
From the Bull Rush ESPN studio. Learn more at bullrush.com/ESPN. W291CL Lakeside Richmond. WURV HD2 Richmond. We are 106.1 ESPN.
So that was a really interesting insight from Chesney, the fact that he made it seem like they do kind of lean into that. I mean, you see where Eric O'Neal went. Eric O'Neal was the star edge rusher. If you remember him from the Boca Raton Bowl, he was the one shooting arrows at the other team and wasn't getting flagged for it.
Great celebrations.
And he's found his way to Rutgers, probably got a pretty good payday. Daryl Dengoy, one of the defensive tackles, young defensive tackles, he had some good games. He had some good production. wasn't necessarily a consistent starter, but he then found his way to Rutgers too. And I mean, you can even look at when Cignetti left and went to Indiana, took a lot of guys with him. So JMU's a place where you can grow, and then you can also potentially get a bag at a Power 4. And it seems like that is something that this coaching staff is starting to lean into a little bit. And I think that is going to separate the great group of 5 teams, the great FCS teams, and the rest of the group of 5 and the rest of the FCS. We've seen Elon. Elon will tweet, Elon Phoenix. They will tweet out, our last year's offensive line, 4 of the 5 of the guys who had 100-plus snaps or more went to a Power 4 school. And it's like, yes, do more of that, because that tells a recruit, I can come here. Maybe I'm not ready for the Ohio State. Maybe I'm not ready for a Big Ten school, but I can come here, develop for a year or two, and then make that jump. Kind of like what a Fork Union Military Academy would be, kind of that 1-year post-grad that would set you up for success when you go collegiate. It's kind of where I think Group of 5s and FCS are going, and it's nice to hear that coaches kind of realize that.
It's a little risky, but
it is risky.
Yeah, it's a little risky, but in this day and age, you got to think on multiple levels, right? You got to think short term, you got to think long term. Some guys are short term, some guys are long term. You know that as a coach, you know that as a staff. They may not know that as a player, but you don't want to close the door on people who may look like short term, but find out they're actually long term. You don't want to turn your back on those guys in this era, because again, things change so quickly in the new era of college athletics, where it can go both ways. You can go backwards really fast, or you can go forwards really fast. So you just want to be open. And I think Coach Chesney, like I said this last year, he's got good energy.
He's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, he does have a lot of energy. But there was a couple things he said that make sense. Like you for him and his staff, this is a continuation, right, of a process of rebuilding or building a program how they see it in their vision. Last year was taking pieces that are not necessarily your pieces and making it work. And then this year you're kind of in an opportunity, or you have an opportunity to make everything work.
Exactly. All right, let's get a quick break in here. On the other side, Stacey Tutt and Danielle Tutt will be joining us, talk a little bit about the Impact Sports Academy, and chat a little football as we get closer to week 0, week 1 across high school, college, and the NFL. Stay with us right here on 106.1 ESPN.